Hey Tucker, are you gonna come over here and help me put this winch on? Come on, let's do it. Hey guys, so went to Harbor Freight, picked up a winch. This is the new Badland ZXR 5000 winch for UTVs, and hopefully this thing is gonna fit because I'm not 100% sure that it's gonna fit, but the KFI winch plate here has a lot of different options for bolt patterns for winches, so I'm thinking it should be okay. But anyhow, I'm going to pop this on there today, try to get it wired up. I think this will be a good option. And the cool thing about this is the price is just so reasonable on these things. So if it works, it's going to be great. First thing we're going to have to do though is see if it'll bolt up, because obviously if it won't, then nothing else matters. But if it bolts up, then we go to the next tricky part, which is getting the wiring through there and routed back to where the battery is, which unfortunately is back there between the two seats. So anyhow, we'll figure something out here. Let's get started. Okay, so right off the bat it looks like everything is going to be just fine, because this is the Fairlead plate that came with the winch. The KFI winch bumper does not come with this, so if your winch doesn't have this included, then you'll have to buy this separately from KFI. But you can see these outer holes here are going to line up just fine. So we're in good shape. The largest bolt pattern on there is going to work for us, so that's good. Okay, so I got the winch mounted, got the Fairlead mounted to the Fairlead plate, and got the winch mounted down on there, and it fits perfectly. There's plenty of room on both sides, as you can see. So looks awesome. Apologize for the shaky image, but it looks pretty awesome. So now comes the fun part, which is wiring this thing up. So I'm going to try and do this without having to remove the console, but we'll see. Okay guys, so I'm back. So the wiring part took a little bit longer than I expected, but your blue and the yellow wire, of course all the colors are marked, so it's pretty easy to figure out what goes where. But the blue and the yellow wires I just took through the grill pretty easily. And then the difficult part of this, and this looks like a mess, but the difficult part of this is figuring out where to put your solenoid, you know, where to put your circuit breaker and all that kind of stuff. Because even though it looks like there's a lot of space in here, the way that they have this designed, I mean, you can see the radiator support here, and then you've got this other piece here, and the hood seals down on top of that. So it's just logistically, it's hard to figure out how to route your cables. That's the difficult part, and that's what took so long. Just figuring out how to get this stuff back there without it being pinched or keeping the hood from closing. So I ended up drilling a couple of holes in this plastic cover here so I could get some of the wires through. Ended up mounting the solenoid on the support for the radiator, and I'm going to tidy up some of this stuff. And then back here, of course, is the wiring for the switch, and on the Wildcat XX you can go right back in there easily on the firewall, knock out one of those pre-cut switch holes, pop your switch in. So that part was pretty easy. So all in all, you know, the wiring, you know, getting it connected wasn't bad. It's just a matter of figuring out how to put things in a place that it's going to work out. So like I said, I just have a little tidying up to do. Now this isn't ideal, but the nice thing about having the solenoid here is that you can get to all your wires easily if you need to diagnose an issue or something like that. So it is kind of nice having it up front here where it's easy to get to. And then when you get back here to run your wires to the battery, we ended up going ahead and taking the console out. So you're going to need a T25 and a T30 Torx. You can see these bolts here. There's a few of those around the side of the console here. And then you got to take the shifter off. Just going to need a 14mm wrench there to loosen up the jam nut. Then you can spin the shifter handle off. And then over on the passenger side, it's the same kind of deal. You've got some screws down here, but you're also going to have some smaller ones. These are the T25s in your grab handle. So you can see there's several of those. You got to take those out also, and then the whole grab handle will come off. Obviously you also have to take the passenger seat out to get to some of those bolts, but it's just a matter of taking out those two 10mm nuts down there, and then the passenger seat comes right out. So it sounds like a lot, but you can actually do it pretty quickly. And then once you take the console out, you can see everything. I mean, it's very, very easy to route your cables from the battery up under the dash at that point. Everything is easily accessible, so it's worth it to take the time to go ahead and pop this console out. And once you do that, you know, like I said, it saves you time in the long run. Now the Badland ZXR 5000 does come with a rocker switch that you can put in one of these, you know, provisions here that are given to you from the factory on the Wildcat XX. Kind of nice that they have those, but you can just pop one of those covers out and they give you the switch. But also under the dash here, you do have a connection right here that you can use for a wired, you know, handheld trigger if you want to stand outside the machine and operate the winch. So you've got both options there. And then also, I don't remember if I mentioned it or not, but the Fairlead plate back here that the Fairlead mounts to does come with a kit, even though it's not shown on the box. It was in the kit, so you don't have to buy one of those separately. That saves you another 40 bucks. The only other thing I would like to have had maybe is some synthetic cable, but you know, I can put synthetic rope or cable on this thing later on. It's not a big deal. This actually works better if you get into a lot of water and mud anyway, because my experience with synthetic rope on these ATV winches is that if they get a lot of water and mud and sunlight on them, they can deteriorate pretty quickly. Don't have that problem with this. And also, if you use a snow plow on one of these, this is also good for that, because it's got a lot more abrasion resistance going in and out all the time. So not a big deal. It's something I could switch out later. But there it is. All in all, it turned out pretty good. Took a few hours to install, but I think it's going to be a really nice addition to this machine. Now, also included in the kit is a shackle, but unfortunately this winch bumper that I got doesn't have a place to put it. So, oh well. But you do get a shackle, which is kind of cool. Now, the other thing I'll mention is the wiring needs to be longer if you're going to use it on a UTV like this. So where the battery on this machine is located back there between the seats, we ended up having to use a much longer section of cable for the positive and negative to go back there, because the cables that they give you with this are only a couple of feet long. There's no way you're going to have enough length to get back there where you need to go. So go ahead and plan ahead before you start to install this. Get you some longer cables and some cable lugs, some heat shrink tubing, and that way you'll be ready to go. You can measure off what you need and cut them you know, to length, and you won't have to run to the hardware store in the middle of the project that way. So that's the only thing that the kit did not have that we needed, was the longer cables. Yeah, so I can't remember exactly how many hours my dad and I worked on this, maybe 2 or 3 hours altogether. But, you know, it's one of those things you can do on a Saturday and just have fun with it, take your time and enjoy it. Not a big deal. Spend a few hours on getting it done properly, and then if you get stuck out in the woods or your buddy needs help or something, it'll be well worth it. So that's going to wrap it up for this project, guys. I appreciate you watching. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Thanks. That poor truck. So summer of 2019, when they got that Gladiator, they put it up on that rack. I told you guys it was going to be there for a long time because of the way that they optioned it. Well, it's been sitting there not moved since July of 2019. And I know it hasn't moved because I pass by here every day. And that poor truck just sits there. At this point, they need to put fresh gas in it. Yeah, for whatever reason, the Jeep Gladiator just didn't end up selling as well as Jeep maybe thought it would. You know, it didn't sell as well as I thought it would. I honestly thought those things were going to sell like hotcakes, but I think it must be the price. I mean, I've seen dealers around here lately advertising $10,000, $11,000, $12,000 off sticker, and even at that, it's still overpriced. Because you take one of those launch editions, you take 12 grand off that, you're still $50,000 for a mid-size truck, you know. So they're just really expensive, and you can't compare the Gladiator to anything else out there because there's nothing else out there that has all the features the Gladiator has. So it's kind of in a league of its own, but still, money talks, you know. So I think that must be it. And of course, now with this pandemic going on and how hard, you know, FCA's been hit over in Italy and everything, it's atrocious for them right now. Of course, it's hard for all the automakers right now, but they're just really not moving any Gladiators right now at all, seems like. So I guess if you really want a Gladiator right now, it'd be a good time to get one, because there's huge discounts on them. But oh well, it is what it is, you know. I mean, to be honest with you, there are sometimes I miss mine, but every time I get in that Ram, there's more room, it's more spacious, better fuel economy, more power, more everything for the same money. And I'm really happy with the Ram still, to be honest. But I still love the Gladiator though. Maybe things will pick up, who knows. Maybe this pandemic will be over this summer, the economy will start to grow again, nice weather, maybe people will start going out and buying them, who knows. But anyhow, that poor Gladiator, I just hate to see it sit there all the time.